speaking for myself, and you're talking to the converted here. I've seen firsthand the changes that can make in one's life's walk, and for me, it becomes a daily experience of miracles, because
Right.
they're happening all the time, always around us. We're just so tuned out that we don't even realize that they're going on.
Of course, what we talk about in terms of miracles, there are in fact no miracles. They appear to be miracles because the left brain has such a tiny range of perception, of possibility, because it's structured and it's limited, and it's a you can't version of reality. I can't, you can't, limitation, and no, no, no. And therefore, when things happen that are outside of its sense of limitation, it perceives them as miracles, when what they are is the natural flow of life. If you want to use the word miracle, the flow of life itself is a miracle, except that it's not. It's just the way that it is.
It's the way it is.
What becoming a left brain prisoner does is it isolates you, it plucks you out from that flow, and basically it's like an eddy or a whirlpool in a river. The river's flowing past you, and you're going round and round and round and round and round in this whirlpool. You're in denial that you're part of a river, because it doesn't seem like that, because the world's a whirlpool. You're an individual whirlpool. There is no river. You're mad. What are you talking about? There's a river. I'm not part of a river. I'm a whirlpool. There's only a whirlpool. That's all that exists. And that's what it's like when we get detached from the river by this left brain isolation. And once you open yourself to it, and you allow the right brain in other words, you allow your connections out there in, then suddenly the whirlpool and the river become one. And I went through that process. And the whirlpool and the river, if you use that analogy, I'm talking about the left brain and the intuition. Your intuition, your knowing, not thinking. Left brain thinks. We'll leave it to think. The intuition knows. Why does it know? Because it's connected to the infinite all-knowing. It's interesting. One of the things that Jill Bolte Taylor said when she was going through that process of the left brain shutting down and malfunctioning massively is there came a point in that process where the left brain was decoding nothing, right? And what happened? Her head went completely silent. All the chatter, no, what about the mortgage? What about the cat? Ooh, what about that woman that said that the other day? Ooh, what you can do about that? Ooh, all this stuff disappeared. There was silence. There was no noise coming from the right brain that was still functioning. All the noise was coming from the left, and it shut down. It had gone. Why? Because the left brain, from its sense of limitation, its sense of apartness, its sense of structure, and all the rest of it, is trying to work things out. Because it's disconnected from the river, unless that corpus callosum, that bridge between the two, is open and running, and in most people it's not to the level that it should, then you get isolated in the left brain. You're isolated in the whirlpool, in the river, and it's trying to work everything out. So it never stops chatting. Oh, I wonder what that is. What's that? What's up that? And therefore it thinks. And it thinks because it's thinking to work things out. Whereas when you connect with all that is, with the infinite awareness is all that is, has been, and ever will be, and is the all-knowing. Therefore, it's not there working things out because it already knows. No need for thought, because knowing and thought are not the same thing. And so if you can access that level of intuitive knowing, and there's a great line in the Matrix movie where they talk about this. It's like there's a line in it where don't try to hit me, just hit me. It's the same process of don't think about you're going to hit me, just hit me, just do it now. And I've taken psychoactive drugs, one called ayahuasca, once in my life. It was in 2003 because it was in the rainforest of Brazil, because I wanted to just experience that and see where it took me. Well, it took me into La La Land, as Jill Bolte Taylor calls it, when she went into a right brain state. It took me into unity. And this female voice, which was me decoding vibrational communications, of course, spoke to me for 5 hours in a voice absolutely as loud as mine is now, talking about the nature of reality. And one of the things that this voice said to me was, don't ask the question, know the answer. In asking the question, you are accepting that you don't know the answer. And therefore you disconnect yourself from that level of awareness where all the answers lie. I've worked to do this myself. It's not that you're not inquisitive, but it's a different process. Instead of, putting your fist on your forehead like the thinker and going, oh, I'm trying to work this out. You just relax and you let the knowing come intuitively. And if someone said to me, what changed your life, going back to when I had my extraordinary awakening in public of nearly 20 years ago, it was one thing. It was the moment I decided that when my intuition and my head, my rational thought, which I now understand was the left brain, were in disagreement, I was always going to go with my intuition. And I've always done it. I've never gone against it ever since. And what happens, of course, is that when you go with your intuition and you follow that, what you're doing is you're going against the flow. You're not flowing with the left brain's version of reality, i.e. the society that you've been living in. You're doing things that are different to the norm, different to the status quo. You're seeing things differently, you're acting differently. And that means that in a society that's filtering reality through the left brain, you appear strange, you appear extreme, you appear crazy and all the rest of it. I've had all that. You appear dangerous even. I've had that and all. And most people then, when they get that reaction, that resistance from society, friends, family, neighbors, people at work, down the bar, whatever, to their following their intuition, and sometimes it can get you into some scrapes because suddenly you're not doing things that are expected of you. People can then pull back from that once they get the resistance and go back into following their head, because when you follow your intuition for the first time in the early days, and you get into these challenging situations, your left brain symbolically is standing there with its arms crossed saying, see, told you what would happen if you never listened to me. And the trick is, I found anyway, is to keep going with your intuition. Trust it. Keep going. And after a while, this is what happened to me. After a while, because your left brain is rational, it's rational. It looks at everything. It's very, very rational. It looks at how your life is working out, and it sees eventually that although when you go with your intuition it gets you into some scrapes and some challenges, it all works out well in the end, and it works out not despite the challenges but because of them. And it starts to go, hold on a second, this following your intuition stuff, this kind of works out. And there comes a point, and it came with me some years ago now, where there's a clasping of hands, if you like, between what we think, i.e. left brain rational thought and all that, and what we intuitively know through the heart, through the right brain, through these high levels of awareness. And you start to think and intuitively feel the same. So the war stops, the war between what you think and what you intuitively feel to do. It stops. And so many people, the vast majority of people, are vibrationally and emotionally scrambled by this war between what they intuitively feel to do and what their left brain structurally is telling them they should do. So you might say, oh, I want to go walking in India. I want to climb a mountain. Oh, I want to go to some spiritual retreat. Oh, you can't do that. You've got a mortgage. You've got a cat. Oh, what will your family think? Oh, what are the people at work? They'll laugh. They won't keep your job for you. They'll say you're mad. We're not employing him. You can't do that. And because the left brain is trying to defend and survive in its structural version of reality, and it's going to give you a list of reasons why you should listen to it. The way through that is to go with your intuition and trust it, and then eventually you'll break out of that left brain prison, and you'll start to then become in the world but not of it. And people may think it's strange. People think I'm strange. I love it. I do. When I look at the world and I see what's going on, and how we're lending people money that doesn't exist and charging them interest on it, and people are dying through lack of bits of paper that have no value because they're just meaningless, worthless bits of paper. They're only certainly because that we're told to take them seriously, that they have any value, and that the vast overwhelming majority of money, if not all of it now, is credit, i.e. it is figures on a screen and nothing else. And people are dying as a result of not having that. And you look at all these other things that are happening in the world. If that world perceives me as sane and credible, then I'm terrified. If it sees me as crazy and extreme and all the rest of it, I'm delighted, because the old saying, you can tell a person by the friends they have. Well, you can tell the state of reality that you're in by whether the system finds you credible or finds you crazy. And I know which one I want to be.
Yeah, me ditto. And I think the other important thing here too is just how freeing it truly is when you are that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can only speak for myself because I'm only the one that's experiencing me at this time. And things that used to get to me and used to wind me up, they just flow past me now. They don't even flow through me. They flow past me. They don't touch the sides. And it's like it's all going to be fine. Because the more you disconnect from the left brain, the more you disconnect from the left brain's fear of everything, fear of the future, fear of the past, which is what regret is, and fear of what other people think, fear of not doing what your parents wanted you to do, fear of not being successful in their eyes, fear of not being a good son, fear of all this stuff. I mean, the list of things that scramble people is endless. And when you get to the end of the list, even if you could, the left brain have lots more to replace them with. It's reality. So once you start to withdraw from that left brain domination, you withdraw from its sense of reality. So all these things lessen and lessen and lessen. It doesn't mean that they disappear overnight, but they become less and less important to your life, and until eventually they fade away altogether. And that's freedom.
Yeah.
We don't have to fight for freedom. I love that one. Let's fight for peace. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that'll work out. Yeah. But let's fight for freedom and all that stuff. It's like we must demand the authorities allow us to be free. Nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense. We are free. That is our natural and eternal state, our natural and eternal right. And no uniform or dark suit has the gift of deciding if we're free or not. We have the gift of deciding if we are going to concede our freedom to the dark suits and the uniforms, because that's what we have to do for them to have power over us.
Yes.
They can't take our freedom. We're free. We can give our freedom to them and give our freedom away. That's what we're doing. We just need to take it back again.